When Amelia first got poorly, the day started like any other regular day. She didn't seem ill or anything. She was happy running around. It wasn't until later in the afternoon when her temperature became very, very high and she started to go quite pale and dark around her eyes. We then chose to phone NHS Direct to see if she'd be all right or if she needed to go hospital, because she was also crying sort of a moany cry every time we would try to move her or pick her up or cuddle her. She didn't want to be touched. Her soft spot was bulging. She didn't particularly like the light. They told us that it was probably just chicken pox and to just put her to bed, she'd be all right. So I went up to check on her, and that's when I discovered she had started to be sick. So I decided then she needed to go to hospital. When we got to hospital, when we checked in with the receptionist, we again told her all of Amelia's symptoms, and she told us to just go have a seat. It was then that we noticed that she wasn't breathing properly anymore. She wasn't using her lungs as much, but more her stomach muscles to help her to breathe. So I informed the receptionist, and she went and got her a triage nurse immediately. They hooked her up to the machines, and she was quite tachycardic, so they tried to give her fluids because of her temperature. And she couldn't keep any of the fluids in, so they then moved her to another area so that they could give her the fluids intravenously. And the A&E doctor also came to check on her. It was then when they were checking her all over that they discovered on her chest she had a red and purpley spot about the size of a pinhead, and it wasn't disappearing when pressed, so they decided to do a blood culture because they thought it could possibly be meningitis. It was about 5 to 10 minutes later when my husband thought he noticed, that she had a birthmark, and I said no, she's got no marks on her. So it was in her groin area, so I opened her nappy. It was then that we noticed she was covered in the rash all down below, and we paid for the nurse to come immediately. And as soon as we did that, the nurse came in, seen it, and grabbed the A&E doctor straight away. It was then a flurry of loads of doctors and nurses trying to stabilize, because at that same point the rash started to spread, so they decided that she had to go to ICU. It was about 3 hours before they would let us see her or anyone told us what was going on. They confirmed then that it was meningitis, they just weren't sure which type she had. When we went to see her, she was all swollen. By that point she'd become covered head to toe in the rash. She was hooked up to the ventilator. Her lips were all purple. Her hands and her feet were starting to go purple. They did not think she would make it through the next 24 hours. And he suggested that if she hadn't been christened or baptized, to do it then. She had, so we still asked for the priest to come to see her. And he took us and our family that had come to around her, and he said his prayer. And shortly after that, her heart rate started to drop. And the doctor was very surprised the next day when he came in and she was still there. He then said the reason her hands and feet were going so purple was because he thought that the muscles were too swollen and were cutting off the blood flow too much. They then decided, yes, she did have compartment syndrome and would need an operation at the earliest they could do it, with her being stable enough to be able to perform the surgery. And they cut into her leg and arm muscles on her right arm to relieve the pressure, and then she was bandaged so that the muscles could drain. Even though they performed the surgery quite soon and were able to save her legs, they couldn't save her thumb and fingers on her right hand. So we had to wait for them to die on their own. And she had surgery about a month after she was discharged from hospital to have them fully removed once they knew how much tissue was damaged, because they didn't want to take more than they had to. Once all of Amelia's more frequent hospital appointments settled down, and we started going once about every 6 months, we then had to think about getting her fitted with a prosthetic hand, basically because when we take her out, people stare at her, don't really know what to make of it. We decided to have just a cosmetic hand fitted, so she feels more comfortable in herself and she's not worried about everyone always staring at her or starts to feel a bit self-conscious. We didn't fit it to help her with everyday life. She copes quite well even though she's missing the fingers. She holds things instead of in her hand. She'll grasp them in her elbow crease. We haven't found yet any sort of thing that she can't do. All arts and crafts she does. She paints, she draws, she colors. The only thing she does struggle with because of missing the fingers is trying to dress herself and undressing, and for when she's trying to use her potty, she's unable to get everything up and down on her own quick enough to be able to do it herself, so someone's always gotta be with her for that. My husband and I do worry about her future. I try not to, but she's coming up to the age where she's gonna start school soon, and all the kids are fine with her at nursery, and they don't pick on her or make fun of her, and she has loads of friends, but I am concerned for her to start proper school because of all the older children that will know she's different and whether or not they're going to tease her, bully her. But we do really try to get her to be proud of what she's got. We do teach her to be quite strong. Hopefully she will be.